Hey everyone, welcome back. We're here today taking a look at this Honda GCV200 on the HRX 217. A lot of these mowers have been recalled for this specific reason, but this is not one that falls within the serial number range for the engine. The body does fall in that serial number range, but when you look it up, it says that it is not affected by the recall. It does have exactly the same issue as what the other one does though. I'm going to show you what that is and show you how to take care of this very easily on an engine like this. Go ahead and first off hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content as we go along. I've got this all throttled up and everything, ready to start. I'll show you what this does. Well, started pretty good, actually. Yep, that's about what it does. It hits that compression stroke and it rips the cord right out of your hand. Now when it starts, it actually runs pretty good. Each time. That can really hurt if you've got your other hand anywhere close. Trust me, I've been hit by a lot of these at a lot of different times on these overhead valve Honda engines. It happens a lot on the GCV360s and stuff like that when they have a lot of compression. This one doesn't have nearly as much, but boy, a homeowner could really get hurt by something like this. Again, if you get it past the compression stroke, it fires up just fine. But that compression stroke is ripping that cord right back out of your hand. Pretty easy fix. I'll show you how to do that. First thing, we want to remove this top cover. There's 4 tabs that hold this cover on. All you have to do is pull them towards you. There, here, and 2 on the other side. This one has a screw in it that kind of holds it in place. So we'll take that screw out. And I believe it holds it in place. I'm not 100% sure about that. One's not working. You do have to take the fuel cap off to get it out of the way as it comes up. That one's coming up. This one ain't wanting to come up at all. Go ahead and take that keeper off of there. Get it out of the way so it gives me a little bit more room. Yeah, that made it nice and easy. Couldn't remember. It's been a while since I've done one of these. We've got the 2 on the other side. One right here. Oop, that one was undone on this side. And then the whole top comes up and off. We next want to take the 3 for the recoil off of the top. And I guess you really don't have to take those off. You can take the whole assembly off anyway, like we're going to do. Got the other ones for the housing. Really, that recoil at the top would be enough so we can spin the flywheel and figure out where the valves are spaced, but I want to show the full flywheel as we're spinning it and where it should be exactly at, for those that are unsure. Now, these are all 10mm bolts around the entire thing, and the 3 on top are shorter, but all the other ones are the same size. It doesn't want to come out of there. So the ones around the outside are all going to be this, and the ones that hold the recoil on are going to be this size. And the whole top comes off. Want to be careful that you don't lose your little rubber boot that goes in there. I'm going to leave it on the fuel tank for now. Now we have access to the full flywheel. Now when we take off this valve cover at the front here, if you do not have it tipped up, it is going to spill out all the oil all over the place. If you have it tipped up like this, it will not do that. I've got it on probably a foot block of wood or something in that nature. As we go to reseal this valve cover, you will need to either tip it back up like this after you get it all cleaned up or completely drain the oil. we completely drain the oil normally and we'll let them sit for 24 hours. Use our 10mm again to take off the 4 bolts that hold the valve cover on. These are, if you look at the ones that come from the recoil, exactly the same size and thread as the ones here, just in case you get them mixed up. Last one, and this is held on with a sealant with a Permatex. You'll have to use a screwdriver to get behind it and kind of pry it outwards to open this. It's the only way to do it. Be as careful as you can. You want to bend that back before you start to reseal any of this. Well, so you see I did a little bit of some nicks there, so we'll want to bend that back flat before we go about reassembling any of this. Again, the Permatex will seal any voids or anything in it anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. No oil dripping because we are back all the way. We'll take the plug out. It's going to be a 21mm plug socket. You can also use a 13/16 on it. We're taking that out so we can find top dead center. As we go around, if you put something down the spark plug hole and we turn it over, when the piston comes all the way up, we're turning clockwise up here. When the piston comes all the way out as far as it can be, that's top dead center. That's where you want to adjust the valves, both the intake and the exhaust at. If you look at the flywheel, directly in the center of this is where you want that to line up with the spark plug hole. So directly in the center of both the ignition coil down to the spark plug hole. That's going to be your top dead center. It has to be on the compression stroke though. The easiest way to find that out is if you watch the valves on the compression stroke at top dead center, you will have a little bit of play in them. You will be able, they won't be completely closed. No matter what, on the opposite stroke, they will be completely closed. So you won't have any play whatsoever. They will be tight. As you can see there, there's no play at all. That's not the compression stroke. The compression stroke is opposite of that. Now again, as we're here, both are loose. That's how they should be. To make these adjustments, you'll need a 9mm to hold on to the nut. And then this is actually a 4mm square. I don't use a 4mm. I don't know anyone who has a 4mm sitting around in their toolbox. We're just going to use a regular old adjustable wrench to do this. These should be set at 4 thousandths. They say 0.10 millimeters plus or minus a little bit either way. Let's check and see what these are actually set at. Let's go to like 7 thousandths and see if that does anything. See if we can get those down through there. Now we can, for sure. That one goes down through the intake and the exhaust very easily. So they're at least 7 thousandths, so almost double what they're supposed to be. Maybe even a little bit bigger. Let's go back to 4 thousandths. We're going to loosen both of these. Both should be set at the same time. Got me just a little adjustable wrench that I've also modified to work as a spring puller at some point or another. I think maybe I couldn't find mine. Get myself to my 4mm spots and then use my 4/1000 feeler gauge. We're going to tighten that down until it's real snug in there. You want it real snug. You want to just barely be able to move it in and out. That's about right. Maybe a little looser. Perfect. Once it's nice and snug, you'll try to keep that in spot, which is kind of difficult sometimes, especially when you're working with something like this. And then you'll hold it in place. You'll hold the 4mm in place, and you'll tighten down the 9mm nut against it. Try to keep it as exactly where it is as you can. And then check again. It should go very snugly down through there. You shouldn't be able to easily fit it in there, and it shouldn't be too tight where you can't fit it in there. That's about perfect. Go with this other one. Sometimes you do have to do this multiple times if you don't get it right the first time. So we'll put our 4/1000 in. Start to tighten it up until it gets tight. And you want it very tight. You don't want it, if you can just move it in and out without any force, it's not tight enough. Seems about right. Double check again. It's probably just a tad too tight. Yep. Again, you want to be able to fit that in there. You don't want to not be able to fit it in. If you can't fit it in, it's too tight. And hold that right there. I'm going to tighten this down. And again, you're holding your 4mm in place while you're tightening your 9. Check it again. Yeah, it's about perfect. On here, if we were gonna do this for the long run, again, we're going to repair this part that was just a little bit notched out. I'll probably just use a hammer to slightly knock that back in that way a little bit. We'll clean all this up completely and make it oil free along here and along this side. And then we use a Permatex Ultra Gray to put this back on. I'm not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it back on and throw everything back together real quick so I can show you that this repair fixed the issue. And then I'll come back and I'll take the valve cover off and I'll reseat that. And again, I like to let them sit for 24 hours. To me, that's the best way to do it before you put it back up against oil and heat and everything else. All right, we've got our 4 bolts for the valve cover. Always start these by hand if you're not sure what you're doing as far as an impact goes. You don't want to strip them out. If you do not replace this Permatex gasket, it will not seal. You will develop an oil leak. If you wanted to mow instantly after doing this or something like that, you could use it in a pinch right away. Again, make sure that rubber at the back here has stayed on. This will line up perfectly there. And then again, it's the 5 that are longer that go here into all these. I like to get everything started first and then we can tighten it all down. Just make sure that everything's lined up. Didn't seem like it wanted to start good. Got the recoil assembly. I always like to pull it a little bit and then put it down on there. That way the recoil starts to retract, because otherwise if you pull it and those are out, sometimes it won't go on evenly if you're hitting your fins. It'll get stuck like that. So if you pull it out and then let it retract as you're putting it down on there, it works pretty well. A lot better than the alternative. Just line up those same notches where we took these out and push that straight down on. Fuel cap, and we're ready to start this thing. See how much easier this is to start now. No pulling back out of the hand, no retraction, nothing like that. It doesn't try to stop me as I'm doing it, or pull it out of my hand, or get to a compression stroke and stop. Didn't have it on there. So something easy like this, just a simple valve adjustment on a mower, can make a huge difference in how it's going to operate and how dangerous it can be. I mean, I've had welted up hands pretty bad, not from something like this, but the GCV360s or 390s. They'll hurt you bad if they need a valve adjustment, that's for sure. These have all had some issues with the camshaft, this same engine. Hopefully this is one of the ones that the camshaft is a little bit better and doesn't fail like those others. Only time will tell. In this case, it is working like it's supposed to and releasing that compression. Hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy the content.